Phenia, I was born with the blessings of the gods. The first person realized the innate vision of Princess Phenia was her father, Emperor Peril. The life of the royal family is a continuous struggle of secret battles and conspiracy. One cannot understand the persistent darkness behind the glorious and noble life of the royal family that the public sees. Therefore, the words of the Emperor Peril called his daughter's ability to be the blessing of the gods somewhat incorrect. Her ability is not a strange gift given by God. In the upright abyss, it is the senses she has to protect herself. With confidence in her ability, Phenia has a reason to be confident. The eyes of the regent, the plot poisoned his aunt, the gesture of the duchess, full of desire to turn her son into a royal family, the trembling pupils of the servant stole the gold watch strap from the bedroom, the uneven footsteps of the squadron commander had the treasurer for maintenance of equipment of the knights, jealous eyes from her relatives, jealous with her power, the trembling voice of the duke spy disguised as a maid. Princess Phenia knows that under all the noble affectionate gaze is a dark and difficult abyss. But she lived the life of a Don Trang princess, understanding their dark intentions while pretending not to know. Please take care of me. Therefore, she had no other way but to look at the man who was prepared for the duel and politely greeted her. The intuition of Princess Phenia is in an extraordinary range. In order to have a deep view of people on par with her, it is really necessary to read thoughts. Ahahaha, what's that? Isn't Ed Roth Taylor? Previously he was dressed in gemstones, but now he looks so emaciated. He wears humble. Previously he just pretended without any magic talent, now his true face was clear. The murmur transmitted to the arena above. It seems that they want to mock their best, but they behave quite properly in front of the princess of a nation. Yes, I hope you take care. The princess gently raised his hand to feel the flow of mana. Her condition has reached its peak. Always maintaining the condition is also an important virtue of a good magician. She narrowed her eyes and glared at the man. Your efforts will definitely be rewarded. Don't be discouraged. Hey, stand up straight. Nothing must be ashamed. Step proudly. You did very well. It's just your opponent too difficult. Don't be discouraged by such a trivial thing. With a boy on the verge of slipping, he shouted despair when passing by, not paying attention to a princess of the country. At first, Phenia was surprised not because she was ignored, but because of Ed Roth Taylor's despair. I heard him screaming at Taylor earlier. That guy is independent. Oh my God. He mocked one person and even made a fuss than that person. What does he want, teasing a child who has never used a sword? Or maybe he wants to be a bit more kind. Why? I cheered for the person I used to harass. Such kind. Oh, his intention is really sinister. It turned out that he was such a person. The whisper of the audience is too loud to be called whispering. Even if Ed Roth Taylor could not hear them from the place where Phenia stood, the princess could still hear the words they said. However, Ed Roth Taylor's eyes remained serene. Like a clear water pond that a drop of water could not disturb, there was no trembling in his pupils. For Princess Phenia, reading emotions in the eyes of others is as easy as eating cold porridge. Indifference, insensitivity, and unrelated. These familiar feelings are the characteristics of Ed Roth Taylor, who is always like that. The whispers of the mockers he could not leave any scratches on his heart. Ed Roth Taylor also had the same atmosphere when she met him in the camp. In the end, there are so many people in life. There are people born indifferently, there are those who do not care and have immunities to what others say. Their lives are their own center. Once the strong belief has taken root in the heart, there will be a steadfast will to defy the intentions of others. Such temperament is even common in first-year students. Lucy Merrill has it, Lord L. Female Kim Lord L. has it, and Zix's natural spear also has it. Upon realizing this, a sense of relief even filled her. Only then did the figure of this man named Ed Roth Taylor seem clearer. It took some time, but Ed Roth-Taylor was also an entity equal to the Princess Fenia. With that certainty, she could stand up and face him. But his actions when he passed the princess, when he enthusiastically encouraged the new students he tried to fail, once again made the mind of the princess confused. Is that desperate encouragement? Is the mocking Taily struggling? Is the removal of the past by supporting Taily is a fake moral act? If you do not know the whole context, one may be forced to strengthen such speculation in the audience. However, for Princess Fenia, Ed Roth-Taylor's true despair was clearly visible, its part was clearly seen since the entrance exam. If he begged the princess in the camp like this time, it would not have to have a headache. Please don't chase me, I sincerely repent. Mercy for me this time. If he knelt down, rubbed his hands together and desperately pleaded, she would not feel this uncomfortable emotion. There are many people who desperately pray to the noble princess and the noble that kick them like gravel. However, he faced an indifferent school, and despite many students mocking, Wang still keeps indifferent attitude. And this unnatural, showing despair to the freshman students he tried to chase school, who was disappointed. What was it? Ed Roth-Taylor, you confused me. Is the princess sighing, worthy of this effort? She was tired of being disturbed by his confusing inside. After all, he was just a student who was expelled from school. It is not a corrupt lord who dreamed of overthrowing the royal family, nor is it a craft marine regent, nor is it a dire servant to the royal treasure. Even if he owns something that even the princess's understanding cannot understand? Okay, now the chance to shake him clean. With this match, she will shake him up once and forever. That is the way the princess stabilizes the mind. Whether or not to understand or not, Ed Roth-Taylor is just a man that she will have the opportunity to fight her best once. In this match, I hope to end it firmly. This world is full of unknown things. However, even if you have a comfortable laugh, cry comfortably, or anything, if you have the opportunity to get rid of it in a refreshing way, it's okay. The details are not very important. Heaven and earth did not turn upside down because Ed Roth-Taylor could not understand. The mana amount of Ed Roth-Taylor has been evaluated. Although not impressive, the way he naturally controlled the mana in the palm of his hand showed that he was not an easy opponent. In the end, this is a training match between a first and second year student. There is an imbalance in power, so the limitations are set to use only the basic magic of each party to balance the playground. Looking at Ed Roth-Taylor booted and controlled the mana flow, it could be inferred that he had practiced basic elemental magic many times. It is not clear how much he can use intermediate elementary magic, but at least his basic elemental magic will be proficient enough. The magic ability of Princess Fenia certainly cannot be as superior as Lucy or Lord L. But basically, thanks to her diligent nature, she did not ignore the practice of magic. Please start the match now. At the order of assistant professors, Princess Fenia was ready. The first blow assesses the ability of the opponent. Fenia's specialized water elemental magic is suitable for unpredictable attacks. It is not easy to react with the sudden change of trajectory of her attacks. I'm here. When the Princess Fenia raised his hand, the water sphere of the magic elemental element appeared. This block of water made from mana can freely change the shape and is a difficult technique, creating great pressure when suddenly attacking the blind spot of the enemy. Princess Fenia can create up to 5 water balls at the same time to attack from all directions, but first, she only creates a fruit to evaluate the opponent's skills. Ed Roth-Taylor uses wind magic and fire. How would he counterattack? Depending on the way he responded, she would change the strategy and gradually increase the strength to fight her all. Just like that, through the exchange of techniques, they will have a dramatic battle to purify them all. She can finally escape from this unknown man. In this world, besides this man, there are too many worrying things. With that determination, the water sphere she threw changed direction and hit Ed Roth-Taylor. Princess Fenia saw. Ed Rothtailor's eyes are definitely watching the path of the water sphere. Wind or fire? What will he use to defend? And after the defense was formed, what was her next attack? However, the water sphere that Phinia threw hit into Ed Rothtailor's abdomen. Ed Rothtailor's body floated in the air for a while before rolling to the ground. A cloud of dust rises, and he lay on the floor. I lost. What are you saying? Princess Phinia's pupils shook violently for a moment. Ha 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 ha. Wow, what is that? He collapsed just because a blow was worse than Tali. He was calm but was defeated with just one blow. Princess Phinia, it's impressive. Really excited? The audience, who suppressed the cheers, exploded in the applause and the cheers. The scene of Ed Rothtailor, who is like the enemy of the public, bravely defeated, brought a joy from all over. However, Princess Phinia, who faced the field, saw it all too clearly. Until the moment before the ball was thrown, Ed Rothtailor's eyes were still locked into its orbit. He did not fail to block it. He chose not to do that. Exactly what I'm trying to do now. Good job. I have learned a lot from you. Clean clothes, Ed Rothtailor stood up and greeted the princess. At this time, Ed Rothtailor looked at the princess. Only at this point, Princess Phinia realized. This man has never looked at her since walking on the stage. From the beginning, he was not interested in this couple. Princess Phinia felt something hot trapped in the throat, as if it could not drift down. The unpleasant emotions that she hoped to shake off after a satisfied battle now threatening to engulf her. Asterisk. Is it really time to match? I hurried down from the arena with agile footsteps. The boos welcome me today again towards me. Surely they were very satisfied when I saw me defeated with just one magic blow. Where is Tali? Every problem has a hierarchy and each issue has its own importance. When interacting with Princess Phinia, it is important to act very carefully so as not to affect the script. After all, the princess is a very important character in this story. However, more importantly, those interactions are the main characters of this world, Tali. If Tali Hone all surrendered to these challenges and his spirit collapsed, it could be a serious mistake for my great plan to reap all benefits and graduate with high scores. So, I have to do something. No matter how important Princess Phinia is as a character, her importance cannot replace Tali's orbit. Anyway, finding Tali is a top priority. Ignoring the mocking words, I strode through the corridor leading to the exit of the nail hall. Certainly, the training session has not ended, but I can easily integrate with the crowd of viewers and away. As long as I can find a way to help Tali get rid of the decline, I can try my best to compensate for all the impact on our score. Determined, I walked quickly, but there was still another person following me. Ed Rothtailor. Surprisingly, Princess Phinia was the one who ran down from the stage in a hurry. She was not famous for her strength, but she was there, gasping for breath and leaning against the wall to stop me. Princess Phinia, should you not take the bodyguard to go out to take out so far? I turned to look at her with the most confused face in the world. Don't pretend you don't know anything. I was really confused by the explosion of the princess. She is not such a character, right? What could arouse her emotions so much? Always acting vaguely, impressing but not, do you know how you are trying to assess how uncomfortable your intention? I don't understand what you're trying to say. If you're talking about the duel, I have to say that I have learned a lot from. Her tight hands trembled. Is she really angry? Princess Phinia, please, calm down. From the beginning I thought he had no intention of winning, that I just wanted to escape the arena. Princess Phinia. Her voice was too loud. I rarely manifest the external confusion, but the princess's reaction was completely beyond my prediction. Princess Phinia hates to abuse power to oppress others, always attach importance to dignity, Always keep a solemn expression regardless of where. Should not be rude, especially now. If someone sees or hears, rumors will not be good. So I try to reassure her. Despite facing challenges in keeping up with classes, merchants like that fox is trying to destroy the academy for personal gain. There is no end for the cruelty of Professor Glast. Between all of this, the servants cite royal rules. There are everything to worry. This is difficult for me. Why is it angry with me? Is a hurried couple a serious sin? I understand that he is containing injustice, but why is it angry with me? Princess, please calm down. I was resisted. He was cursed and touched the princess. More precisely, I just put my hand on her shoulder and looked into her eyes. Take a deep breath. When she felt the sudden hug of a man, she finally gasped. It is not likely that anyone dares to touch the spiritual body of the princess, so in this intimate moment, the sudden physical contact must surprise her. Typically, the abnormal shock of such intimacy makes people feel uncomfortable and quickly regain their composure. Don't be too stressed. Inhale and exhale. Princess Phinia followed me and took a few deep breaths. Oh. Well. She covered her face, realized how much she lost her dignity. This is a moment of alert ponder. The shame has a way to increase over time. Please, forget about it just now. Oh, yes. Of course. After that, she covered her face for a while, her ears flushed red, as if she was very embarrassed. Done yet? Can I go now? Yes. I have a bad habit. I tend to be pounding and speculating, even if I can ask directly. Probably because I lived in the royal family for too long. Then she started telling me what I had never asked. Okay, I understand. I will listen attentively at another time with the appropriate reaction. Now, let me go. I have to find Taily. Although I know it's a bad habit. How can I tell the princess, please, I don't care. Let me release. I was in a hurry. I had to nod and agree immediately. That's right, princess. If so, then. So let me ask directly. And now what? I think this. He knew a little about the darkness of the Rothtaler family, or he was harmed by them, and that's why he tried to cut off his relationship with them. You provoked Taily to create a deportation reason, right? The princess looked straight into my eyes as she continued. It was a sharp conjecture. Often misleading, but she was right to guess that there was a dark side in the Rothtaler family. At some point, I mentioned that the head of the Rothtaler family, the Creban Rothtaler, was studying immortal magic with the power of the evil Mabular. Many lives were sacrificed to test. But that is the story that the princess will investigate with her academic power in the back of the script. That part of the story is still far away. If you know anything about the darkness of the Rothtaler family. Why did I tell her that? I don't know much about that. That can't be true. The princess interrupted me fiercely. That is unreasonable. What about the words he shouted at Taily before? Why did you encourage and support a person you're trying to chase? Didn't you really hate Taily so? That's. This girl seems very smart when asking questions, right? It was just teasing. Or, you know, why, because everyone hates me. So I think, maybe if I cheer for Taily, I will. It looks like, changing. Maybe something like that? Obviously lying. No, that's not a lie. I am proud of my deep understanding when evaluating people. The princess leaned and said firmly. She was right. The vision of the princess of the compassion of Phinia is truly immortal. Even if everyone thinks so, I'm sure I saw through him at that time. When you encourage Taily, you are really desperate and sincere. Oh right, of course I was desperate and sincere. If he was desperate, the plan I would go bankrupt. But because I could not explain that, I chose the absolute defense strategy that everyone from elementary school students to adults widely. Serious. Where is your evidence? You have no evidence, right? That's just your doubt, right? No, but. That's right, really. There is no other way from here. No matter how deep she is or how confident is it, if I say that is not right, then it's not right. If she is not satisfied, she will have to find evidence. That's right, it's really right. Ah. Really? When coming here, the princess once again crazy hugging his head. She stomped her face with extremely disappointing face, repeating those words, unable to find any comfort. Feeling poured into the foot of the wall, no escape for anger and no relief for disappointment, she was meaningless to vent her anger on the road at her feet. Oh, that dash! The pursuit of a fact that seems to be within reach, but it is still difficult to grasp, or constantly avoiding the confrontation that can really make your mind hot. It is not just the incident that happens in a day or 2 weeks, but it has happened for weeks. Moreover, her ability to understand in seeing through anyone will make that experience twice as uncomfortable, or 3 times for a person who is not familiar with the situation like Princess Phinia. But I can't do anything. The future cash flow is guaranteed to be my only capital. If you are me, did you reveal it? Claire Commander hurriedly followed Princess Phinia, who suddenly rushed out of the ring and headed towards the exit. The princess is struggling with anxiety and pain, finally calm down when his commander is approaching. While her anger seemed to have reached its peak, her royal status seemed to prevent her from showing indecent behavior in front of her commander. I will not give up like this, she stated. Her face still had signs of anger that was not relieved when she moved towards me intentionally. You must be hiding something. I may not understand why he was so stubborn and said nothing, but I could say something, even though I didn't feel malicious or dark intent. I think you rated me too high, Highness. Listen carefully. Maybe now I don't have a degree G to justify, but. Her bright yellow eyes stared at me. Indeed, the more I think about that, the more I clearly see that the Phinia princess is a remarkable and noticeable person like Lucy Peril. Especially challenging is her deep understanding, making behaving properly politely is difficult. As if her sharp intuition had a glimpse of my desperate explosion with Taily in that short moment, did not allow a little distraction. In the novel Sylvania's Failure Swordsman, Princess Phinia's insight is simply a fighting skill to predict the next move of the opponent or glimpse their index. Anything other than that is considered a secondary storyline for the story. However, when faced with that ability in reality, solving her deep understanding in everyday life proved more difficult and mentally tired than I predicted. It is best to keep a distance from Princess Phinia. Although she is the main character in the script and we can hardly meet each other more often than necessary, I decided to avoid being too friendly to her. If I see the smallest clue, I will definitely find the answer. Although I am not sure if it is easy to keep that distance, it depends mostly on my efforts. After finishing speaking, Princess Phinia sighed, seemingly aware of the unreasonable situation of the current situation. Only after resting her hands on her hips and sighing, she regained her everyday stress, and apologized for her previous rude behavior. I sincerely apologize for the unfortunate incident I have caused. Although her anger had surged, her apology at the end was a typical example of Princess Phinia. Normally, she is not the one who expresses discomfort or anger to others, and the reason is extremely complicated. The status between the princess of a nation and a normal student is huge. Even a small discomfort from the princess can cause disaster for the other party when considering their status. I am familiar with her childhood stories, too long to tell the details here. But they are enough to explain why she became so carefree and kind, such as the case of a maid whip in the royal garden because of leaving stains on a cup of tea, highlighting the negligence in such an important task, ensuring safety for the royal family from toxins. Not to mention the changes in the bodyguard when she fell in the garden, or the pale face of the medical doctor when she was the most sick. A broken heel at the royal party made the royal tailor crying and pleading. For the natural charming Fenia princess, all these incidents are pressure and shackles. As a noble king, no smallest mistake is allowed, any of her own mistakes can bring irreversible disasters to others. Moreover, if she is public expressing anger or disappointment, she could not anticipate the possible disasters later. The title Princess of Compassion praises her kindness, but I know better. That title is the chain tied her. However, I could not do anything, there was no reason to do. If anything was bothered me, then that was that variable, it was myself. You can go. I saw him still looking at the door. You must have a urgent thing, right? With the sympathy, the princess allowed me to go out, which I treasured. Regardless of whatever, causing tensions for the princess, a protagonist, seems to be unstable. As if it is not difficult to keep up with classes, the merchant like that fox also tries to hunt in the school with hidden motives. The cruelty of Professor Glast is not better at all. And in the meantime, the servants kept making the rules of the empire. As if I didn't have everything to worry. It's tired. Losing herself in a moment of intense emotion, she was clearly different from the Princess Fenia that I knew. There was no doubt, countless incidents in the script made her exhausted, and to me was an additional element, she must have felt completely overwhelmed. While I was worried that such instability could adversely affect the upcoming events, what could I do about that? Really nothing. The burden I can carry, Your Highness, it is harder to get heavier than the burden of Your Highness. I said a few more words when I went to the door, probably went beyond the limit, but I didn't think she would blame me for this boldness. Always be alert to the complex situation of politics, and the dynasty must be very necessary, but the Highness is not more comfortable with your heart? This is not the royal palace where the Highness must constantly show the supreme dominance. This is the Sylvania Academy. Her pupil seemed to relax as I said, surprised, because I did not say anything because of shock. Perhaps she was not used to someone who looked through her appearance as she used to see through the appearance of others. Stunned by her expression as if being stabbed into my heart, I quickly closed the door behind my back when I walked out. Fortunately, she did not stop me. I was really relieved. In the end, Princess Fenia is the main character. Although she could be obsessed with me for a moment, once she was entangled in all kinds of events, she would soon forget a mediocre person like me. Hope we will never encounter each other again. Please. Asterisk. I saw Taylor McClure sitting on a bench on the edge of the Student Association building, still clenching the wooden sword that he used in the duel. Although I can see Taylor from afar, I have no clear plan about his approach. This situation is not quite ironic? Or rather, from the beginning should not have any questions about it. Ed Roth Taylor is one. The third-class villain scolded Taylor McClure and tried to chase him away. Now, making words of encouragement seems quite funny. I definitely acted in the impulsiveness of the sudden development of the incident, but when I thought again, I found myself unable to do anything to encourage Taylor to give up my position. No matter what I say, I still lack the sincerity of our history. With this awkward situation, confusing and thinking about the next action, somehow, I found myself going towards Taylor when suddenly someone blocked me. Don't come closer. At first I was surprised, but then a strange joy was surged when I realized my face in front of me. The short chestnut hair and the delicate appearance contrasted with the determination. You are. Don't, come closer. She stood wide open, trembling but still stubbornly turned to me. Looking at her talking. Indeed, she was just like the character in the game. Anyone who has ever played Sylvania's failed to feel unable to feel familiar with that face. In fact, she was the face of Sylvania's failure swordsman and a childhood friend who always supported and stood side by side with Taylor through all ups and downs. Elatrice, now appeared in flesh. Ed Roth Taylor, no more, stop touching Taylor anymore. Her trembling seems pathetic, almost pitiful. However, her face was deep in contempt. This is a strange refreshing feeling. Indeed. After playing Ed Roth Taylor, I find that even the gentle Ayla can bring such a disdainful face. Even without you. Taylor suffered enough, enough. No need to torment him anymore. I have witnessed it yourself. He has, suffering enough. Her trembling voice was weak, as if it could break at any time, but she still tried to utter her words until the end. Above all, her desire to protect Taylor is sincere. That truth surprised me. Yes, this is Ayla. It's funny to feel emotional, when standing here in front of an opponent, it seems ready to swallow myself. Accident. The metal cup of water that Ayla rolled on the stone floor. Perhaps she was on the way to get water. When the water spilled and splashed, Taylor finally reacted, slowly stood up from the wooden bench, towards me and Ayla. I feel a certain discord here. The way Taylor walked lacked his fragile appearance. Ed Roth Taylor. Holding the sword tightly, he placed Ayla behind his back, glaring at me. So. I'm still going to school. His deep and serious voice surprised me. I remember Taylor's lifeless face when he lost in a duel. But Taylor is now another person. The vivid energy source of Taylor, the fighting spirit does not flinch even before the strong enemies, determination in the eyes, he is clear. Is he revived? The incident is like that. Now I have come to this step, I can see the whole story. I could not follow Taylor right after the duel that I had to supervise with the princess. But Ayla, a childhood friend and also the most enthusiastic supporter, who watched him with anxiety from the row of the outside, hurriedly ran out without looking back to look at the second time. And I can deduce what might happen next. Whenever Taylor faces high walls, cannot overcome or cold challenges, Ayla will hug him, encourage and assert him. It's okay. You will also overcome it. You always do well. I believe in you. You can do it. Don't be discouraged, Taylor. She always said these warm words, crying with him, for him. With Ayla next to, Taylor will continue to rise again. That truth is not something I don't know. What to do here, do you need anything? I don't. As a result, Taylor stood up again. Afraid that Ayla could be damaged, he stood in front of her, regaining his determination when he looked straight into my eyes. My emotions surged in me so familiar. Indeed, as Taylor, through countless experiences, I was able to sympathize with him until the end, all thanks to his steadfast will. You use the sword quite well, I see that again. Please make clear your basic intentions. Nothing special. Suddenly being said like this because a person who had only been despised before, I could not avoid being seen as if insane. But this time, I want to clarify that. Before talking about the situation or development in the future, there was a certain emotion after watching the evolution of Sylvania's failure of the swordist for a long time. I have witnessed your strong determination through all these challenges, and regained your courage from your unmistakable determination despite serious difficulties. And here I hastily concluded that a Lucy's blow will crush Taylor's spirit. My concern is so red. Although I treated him as a sacrifice, ready to suffer all challenges in the future for me. But when faced with him directly, those emotions have somewhat vanished. Yes. The truth is that you will carry the burden on me. But put it aside. I don't want to be heartless. Oh. I looked directly into Ayla's eyes. Although she looked at me with contemptuous eyes, I nodded several times before turning away. The worry that Taylor could collapse completely disappeared immediately. But even if they are praiseworthy and proud friends, continuing to stick can have a negative impact on the predetermined flow in the future. Turning his back and disappearing with the feeling of throbbing pain when being monitored is painful. Even when I didn't look, I could still know. What is he doing? They must be watching with be such a feeling. Yes, that is inevitable. Asterisk. Shortly thereafter, the fire broke around the center of the nail hall, where the general battle training took place. The students lingering around the students' building were amazed to witness the fire suddenly broke out. No one expected that such a big fire suddenly broke out. But actually it is not a fire. The fire of Tarkan, high-class fire spirit, is the cursed fire that only burns the target that the summoned person intends. Hello, hello. I tried hard to stop the corner of my mouth from being late with a sublime autonomy effort. A guest who broke into the camp had sat down, which is why I tried my best not to frown. The camp is the place where I returned after collecting edible herbs and medicinal plants. The guest did not invite but came, the happy person to welcome me, none other than Yenica. The first student in the second year is known as a genius of the master. Although we occasionally greet each other due to the same class and happen to meet each other near the Merrilda Guardian, I have never really responded. Partly because I tend to avoid Yenica, but also because her close friends or acquaintances will quickly get her away like ghosts appearing from nowhere. I was relieved for me, who wanted to limit contact with Yenica, but it seemed quite troublesome for her, who wanted to make friends with many people. Yenica's friends probably warned her that there was nothing good to make friends with Ed Roth Taylor Notorious. Unfortunately, like some kind of pride psychology, Yenica will continue with her own beliefs in the issues she believes that is right, even though her happy appearance, often confused with meaningless optimism. Her presence alone is enough to prove this truth, proven by the current situation. Wow, so wonderful. This place is like a secret base. Looking around with admiration and jumping up from excitement, she was like a child who witnessed the first snow battle, all innocent. Can I come here more often? It seemed too harsh to tell her no, because she could be hurt by such a blunt rejection. However, this energetic girl has a gift of arousing instincts to protect and explain why her classmates pampered her so much. Why are you here? This place is good. Feeling like an adventure, it made me nervous. Don't you feel like that, Ed? Every day really has its own interesting things. Just after that day, an incident with a campfire led to an almost unexpected ambush of a wild boar at dawn. But the thrill has many different forms. I also want to talk more to you, one thing I want to ask, and, I also need some advice. For so many people around, why criticize me? Definitely too emotionless to say that in front of her. Although it is necessary to keep her distance from her, but it would be cruel if doing so in a rude and inhumane way. However, responding to the warmth in my behavior does not bring any benefits, an obvious truth. How do you find this place? This camp is far from the student dormitory, located in the far corner of the large forest in the north. Only a few people know about the place I live. Does that wolf accidentally tell you that? The most likely among the suspects is Merrilda, a high-class wind spirit with a relative relationship with Yenica. As an entity with the sovereignty of the forest, it would not be surprising if Merrilda exposed my poor survival efforts. No, Merrilda always talks about you. But she has never revealed your camp position or any personal secret. That is your own story. Interesting. In the end, this person is quite respectful of privacy. I thought that everything about me was now revealed to Yenica. So who could reveal to Yenica about my camp? The answer is please guess. When she happily turned her head with a complacent face, my mind narrowed her abilities through the exclusion process. Obviously Belle, ugh. What? You found that so fast? Belle Maillard. Despite being strange to me, this name refers to the high-class maid of the Ophelias Hall, one of the 3 most luxurious dormitories of Sylvania Academy. She was here last week. Asterisk. Name, Ed Roth Taylor. Gender, male. Age, 17. Level, 2. Race, people. Achievement, No. Power 6. Intelligence 5. Agility 9. Will 8. Luck 6. Details of combat skills. Details of magic skills. Details of survival skills. Details of Kim Fake skill. Weekends are the perfect time to complete the delayed tasks. I spent the whole morning hunting and returning to the sweaty wet clothes, then I washed and dried by the stream. I felt like I was 10 years old after almost survived the hard-working exercise that took place nearly 2 weeks ago. Worrying about breaking the main plot, walking on the string and still having to live a normal life that made me twice as much exhausted. But not much related to the main characters, since being trained in battle has brought me a sense of peace. Thanks to all focus on studying and survival, my previous low strength index has finally increased by 1. The high agility index began to show less fluctuations. It will not be easy to increase each level from 10 onwards. With the power index of 6, I am now quite proficient. Compared to the warriors in the battlefield, it may be insignificant, but reasonable for a civilian. Finally, the standard for high performance indicators is 10. Whether the skill level or the basic indicators, when you reach 10, the fluctuations will be significantly reduced and each step requires great efforts. If considering the specifications of the game at the end of the game in about 20, there is still a long way ahead. However, that standard applies to extraordinary characters. At this stage, my attributes were valid. Thanks to my efforts, my body has developed a decent amount of muscle. Standing by the stream, not wearing my shirt, I checked my physique. Anyway, the power index is also very important. Due to the hell working regime in the past 2 months, my body has evolved by adapting. I did not target my muscles, but some muscles began to form around my body and the upper arm, a significant improvement compared to my original skinny physique. This is a significant progress, although I have no physical talent. However, my level of use is too low, and I am not proficient in using the dagger, although it is considered the most useful auxiliary weapon. The journey has been long, but I still have to go further. It is better to practice now to be more comfortable later. Don't let yourself be lazy. Despite the significant progress, I should not be satisfied with this level of achievement. I stretched out my arms, twisted the waist to relax my muscles, ready to solve the amount of outstanding work during the week. I was out of firewood, so I had to cut the wood again, and in the afternoon, I planned to knit the net. Using all the remaining silk fibers, people will create a complex mesh by arranging diagonal silk fibers and twisting them at each intersection. Why make a net? It serves fishing purposes, but more importantly to preserve fish. Although the meat is stored in a stored tunnel is dug up, it is broken quite quickly. Just salting with granular salt is not a feasible solution because the supply is limited. Therefore, I discovered the smoked process, mildly cooked the meat surface with woody smoke, helping to extend the expiry date of the meat for a few more days, saving hunting time to study or for other survival activities. However, for fish, even after smoking, the storage efficiency is still worse and the flavor changes significantly, making the processing of fish properly becomes difficult. Therefore, the purpose behind the manufacture of grid is to install a fish farm to maintain itself by interwoven between the branches in the stream. If successful, fish can be kept alive. This will ensure both freshness and flavor are kept the same. It is a valuable test. For weekdays for classrooms, leaving less energy for the collection of resources immediately, the weekend is the most favorable time for such implementation. After hurriedly cut the firewood and make sure the new washing uniform was dry, I started to knit the net. Zzz. Zzz. I was stretching and relaxing muscles, preparing to cut firewood to fire. Instinctively, I lifted Lucy Peril, who was sleeping, easily lifting her on the shoulder as if lifting a bag, and also instinctively throwing her into the wooden shelter. Oh, battery! Lucy, who landed in the middle of the fur, wiggled it for a while. He quickly returned to a temporary bed that was lined with soft weasel and squirrel skin, and her snoring quickly continued. With such time, it must be her nap time. Sometimes she came to my camp and used it as her own bed. Now, that meeting hardly made me sigh. Just split 50 wooden pieces and check the uniform. I will complete for an hour. I spit on my hand, gripped the axe and tightened the first wooden piece. Wow. Turning to the sound of the sound, I saw Lucy rubbing his forehead, showing that she had hit her head on a protruding wooden bar after naturally jumping. For Lucy, ordinary people waking up when they were sleeping unless she pinched her cheeks, it was quite strange for her to wake up and her panic. What's wrong? There is smell. After uttering such mysterious words, she took the witch hat and rushed out of the camp like a wind. The departure, like her whirlwind, as fast as lightning, made me impress, leaving only the effect of her wind magic to dry my sweat. What about now? It didn't take much time to understand the reason why she suddenly left. Who is out there? From the bush, that person's ball approached. No one else was Bel Mayar, the high classmate of the Ophelias Hall. Asterisk. I know very well the maids in the palace, tin and their pride on par with those who serve the royal family. Each of them is an expert in their field after being trained in depth from an early age. However, in terms of their influence in the shortcomings of Sylvania's failed swordsman plot, nothing is especially noticeable in my mind. Despite that, the special features of the Ophelias Hall were undeniable. As a device, it is only described, not a character that has a significant impact on the main scenario. In other words, meeting Bel Mayar now does not evoke anything more than a vague awareness, indeed there is such a character. He was an unimportant supporting character, similar to a one-time villain like Ed Roth-Taylor if he considered the weight of the script. I think I will go deep into the forest, but I did not expect to see him here, Mr. Ed. That's right. It's been a long time since I met. Actually, there's no need to use glasses. Although Bel Mayar may not have a great impact on the script, she is a character, when almost forgotten, sometimes will appear meaningful and offer some important conversations, similar to a spice in a pharmacy. For example, after facing a challenge, he can tell the protagonist or female hero, however, there is still determination in your eyes. You will definitely overcome this, or with her, she can definitely succeed. She may not really help solve the problem, but she conveys a kind of guarantee that they will be solved, causing him being a redundant character, but it seems necessary in the script. And that's all, except for being the only one that the single magician Lucy Peril was really scared. No matter how important we assign her, her nature has not changed. She is a member of the supporting character club, like Ed Roth-Taylor. I will continue to use glasses. The fact that she used glass made me feel uncomfortable. Alright, I'm no longer a noble, so that doesn't matter. Are you still a student at Sylvania? Her black hair neatly trimmed and her humble attitude explained why she could be qualified as a high-end maid even among the true professional maids in the Ophelias Hall. Although she could not use basic magic, her maid skirt was still neat without wrinkles, despite her deep journey into the forest. To be honest, I was shocked. Although not showing the face, but speaking out by mouth does not make it more convincing. My way of talking has changed a lot, and I also became more muscular. Only then did I realize that I was naked. I am not ashamed. But then, their steadfast face surprised me confused. I am very happy to see such positive changes in you. That's right. No need to be solemn. I would rather be better. Despite her emotionless expression, it seems that I somewhat touched her strange pride. You can be comfortable with me. I think I shouldn't do that. Are you sure to behave comfortably in the Ophelias Hall? Well, that's when I live in Ophelias Hall. Anyway, the maids of the Ophelias Hall have the same stubbornness. I saw Belle holding a large basket on one hand. Sneaking, I see that there are full of mushrooms, herbs and fruits. Although the Ophelias Hall mainly uses excellent ingredients provided by many merchants, sometimes it is necessary to collect fresh ingredients from the surrounding area. When she looked at her undertaking such jobs, I could understand why Meme Online joked that the maids of the Ophelias Hall were cattle farmers. They can do anything, so for those who direct them, the problem is just sitting there and waiting to be served. I know you are still at school. I often help Lady Yenica prepared in the morning, and she often mentioned him, Mr. Ed. Is that so? I did not expect that after leaving the Ophelias Hall, he lived a life like this. When he left, he looked like he lost everything. I thought you dropped out of school. That's when I realized it was Belle. The short-haired maid gave me a wooden suitcase on the day I was kicked out of the Ophelias Hall. In the chaos when I first came to this world, my mind was not completely concentrated and the maids of the Ophelias Hall were all in my thoughts. I did not notice. Anyway, I'm happy to see you still fine. Ah, yes. Thank you for your encouragement. But have you ever stopped using a formal language with me? I have no intention. These strange creatures seem to have a non-adaptive nature. What kind of education can create such a thinking? In my opinion, the most notable thing right now is the basket that the Belle maid is holding. There are lots of mushrooms, herbs and fruits. Now, with the knowledge of the trees that are limited to what I study from the book in the student library, this tree basket is a promising expansion of the variety of plants that I can collect. Especially with mushrooms and berries, there are many types of toxic that I cannot touch. The prospect of distinguishing the types of food is very attractive. Belle Maillard, although it seems distant, has a good nature, so maybe she will agree if I ask for help. After all, as mentioned, the maids of the Ophelias Hall are just supporting characters, too trivial to be able to contribute much to the overall scenario. Clothes can bring more benefits than losses. If we become friendly, I can even get raw materials, fabrics, or many remaining tools from the Ophelias Hall. By this time, pushing her out is stupid. The maids of the Ophelias Hall are almost not appearing in the script. Indeed, becoming an acquaintance will not make much difference. After deciding, I cleared my throat and showed a friendly smile, approached Belle Maillard again. She really takes a lot of effort, walking all the way to the forest to get raw materials. But the other basket? Yes, it is fine to become friends. And I will regret this choice until the end of the story? Asterisk. Yes, I talked a lot about friends with Belle. Belle often interfered in our conversation, and she just mentioned meeting you here. A human being, no, a pure wind and spiritual talk about the private life of others. Belle Maillard that I knew was a secret and did not like to talk about others. The ability to keep silence is the basic thing for an experienced maid, and Belle Maillard that I know will definitely have this basic quality. You should come to see me this weekend, she said. Today she also tied my hair to be very beautiful, you see? Looking at this braid is so beautiful, right? Look at this. Yes, I guess that. So, about the problem I just mentioned. Yenica finally started talking about the real topic. She had her knees and sat down. Looking at the beach fire exploding, Yenica hesitated to speak. At first, I wondered why she came to me, among others, to ask for advice on her issues. Ed did not see this because you left early, but last month in the joint exercise, I accidentally injured someone. Summon high-quality Tarkan fire spirit and submerge Nail Hall in the sea of fire will be one of the biggest events of the semester. It was obvious that she injured. Considering that she broke the rules and used intermediate magic first, it was self-causing, but that was not related to Yenica's good intention. Why am I among everyone? Simply because all students are on the side of Yenica. Yenica is lovely, active like a jewel for the second-year students. So, if she feels guilty or blamed, people will come in to encourage and support her. However, Yenica knew that their judgment was somewhat biased. Their feelings for Yenica means they will not give fair and objective ideas. It was great that they were always on her side regardless of, but that did not eliminate wrongdoing. So she came to me. Compared to others, I rarely tend to stand by Yenica without thinking. She is definitely a kind and right girl, but such a nature is not suitable for Lord L. Just think about it, is it too cruel, causing such injuries to be counted as an outrageous reaction? Understandable. Should I apologize? Maybe you should do that. But if I did that, my friends insisted that they were wrong and resolutely told me not to do that. Then listen to your heart. If you think you're right, do it. I let Yenica sit alone while she leaned on her chin on her knee. I decided not to impose my judgment. It is not clear how my opinion can affect her. The character Yenica Fa lover is so important to be able to hastily decide her right and wrong. This decision seems a bit harsh but inevitable. As expected of Ed. But the reaction was more unexpected than expected. Ed. You are not blindly on my side. If you are sad, I can't do anything. Huh? No, no. That is a misunderstanding. Cuddled by the warmth of the campfire, she smiled slightly, although the energy was somewhat weak. I was not upset. No sadness at all. On the contrary, it even comforted me. Her statement contains many meanings. I wish everyone in the world was like Ed. I don't have time to ponder her words because I have to be busy with countless jobs of the day. Asterisk. Can I buy your 2 hours of time, Mr. Ed? At that time, after the basic elemental class the next day, when I was preparing to go out for lunch. She seemed polite and calm, but her radiant turquoise eyes were filled with wealth. Her clean reddish-brown hair was tied neatly on her shoulders, beautifully down. Perhaps it was due to the wounds during the general battle practice, I could see small pieces of tape protruding from her neck and arms. With the time she carried these small wounds after the event, the severity of the initial wounds could easily imagine. Yenica kindly, it will be very sad. She stood there, waiting for me as if she knew I would walk out of the building, sitting obediently on the bench. I realized that she was one of Sylvania's 4 notorious female heroes, who was predetermined to clash with Princess Phinia and became her unknown enemy. The only heir of the greatest merchant, Eldcahelm, and a girl climbed to the top of the Golden Tower just for her rich desire. In the following days, people will look back with respect and affection to call her Kim female. Lord L is a girl who understands human greed better than anyone else. Her true shine moment did not come until Yenica left in the second level, but she still showed her presence from the first. However, there is a clear difference between her role before and after the first, because Lord L has a very negative effect on players in the first stage. The person who creates a bad end, the crushing new person, the cruelty of the developer. Yes, there are many other words, but those who have met Lord L in the first stage are simultaneously uttered such indignant words. Now, my new days of being a distant memory, but even when I thought about it, I still felt pain in my heart when I remembered how much Lord L made me hurt in the first one. At that time in the story, the entanglement of this character means an inevitable ending. In the Taily class test event, you can save Lord L from an unexpected attack of the kobold, but in the process, you witness Lord L's secret. Afterwards, Lord L sent people to abduct Taily from school, leading to the disappearance of Taily. It was the second bad end. In the training of the monster tribe, there is a chance to stay in the same group as Lord L. If you choose Lord L instead of Ayla's childhood friend, Ayla will fall into the cliff and die. Why? Because there was an event that Taily, the same team, quickly saved Ayla from sliding out of the shore. If you are in a group with Lord L, the event will not happen, and therefore Ayla will fall. It was the end of the 7th bad. In the general battle practice event, there was a choice to rush in a high-class fire spirit summoned by Yenica to protect Lord L, but doing so would be seriously burned. It was the 13th bad end. In the process of the student union to regain Glasgow in the monster tampering event, if you use the input point suggested by Lord L, you will be ambushed by many spirituality and losing your life. It was the end of the 20-2 bad. Initially, you may swear because there is such a character in the story, but if you play Sylvania Failure to the end, you will understand the development of the developer and admire it in your heart. Although simple, this intention is very important. The position assigned to Lord El Cahelm in Sylvania Failure Swordsman is the anonymous hero. A character in contrast to Princess Fenia Cmr Bang and How. Lord El, who is only considered a goal to subdue, reveal his true nature when the story progresses to the climax. The reversal of her assessment and this unexpected distance attracted players, gradually persuading them to understand Lortel's viewpoint, who always had to discuss interest and losses and forced to look at the world through cold calculations. Life searches for the pieces of bread that others throw away in the slum, the ideals she pursues between deception and cheating, and persistent loneliness never fade even though she has a huge fortune. As evaluating Lord L gradually recovered, the player gradually understood her loneliness deep into her life at an important time. Will you stand on the side of Princess Fenia who lead the student council, or will you stand on the side of the Lortelli female leader business group? You will support the noble ideals and idealism of the noble Princess Fenia, or will you support Lord L, who fought against the loneliness in harsh reality like the wild? The new players of Sylvania's Failure Swordsman felt immersed in thinking at this time. So much that they could take nearly 20 minutes without breathing when faced with this choice. Sorry, Sunby. Basically, the continuous towards the bad end in the first stage is really intentional. The repetitive experience with bad ends makes people intentionally avoid contact with Lord L, leading to psychological cracks. The greater the crack, the final reversal of the evaluation became more dramatic, the true harmony of the system and the story. Wow, this is really a top game. Truly a masterpiece. Sunby. Sunby. Didn't you hear it? Even when thinking about it, it is still noticeable. Walking along the street, I nodded satisfied. But that was another story. How long are you going to follow me? I did not expect you to ignore me so much that I gritted my teeth like that, it was surprising. Okay, then grind your teeth and ignore it. Is that not obvious? Asterisk. Creating the right atmosphere for anything you do is a good habit. When she stepped out of the lecture on elemental research in the scientific building, she, Lord L, sitting humbly on the bench, telling me deep and meaningful sentences, not bad. Can I buy your 2 hours, Mr. Ed? That is definitely a solid start. The corresponding object is none other than Lord L. When such a person appears suddenly with an offer, the curiosity of people will arise naturally. Usually, people will start with the question. What do you mean when buying 2 hours? What are you going to do? If you buy, does that mean you will pay me? How much? And will you pay on the spot? What is your secret engine? Faced with such questions, Lord L will respond with a hidden smile idly and slowly continue to speak. This must be a picture that Lord L drew. Normally, I will be the questioner, and she will manipulate and dodge my curious questions, taking control of the situation. Plus Lortel's sharp speech, negotiation, and eloquence, it would not be surprising that I found myself having a crush on her proposal before understanding what was happening. Then the agreement. But at that time I still didn't know her intention. Are you willing to listen to 1 or 2 stories, right? When I ignored Lortel's expectations and strode forward, breaking all her predictions, she finally started to follow me. She almost had to run to keep up because of the difference in our footsteps, but I did not slow down because of her. I heard that his life has been very difficult since he was expelled from school. I think maybe I can help you a little? Don't say any more if you don't really intend. Oh my God, the exchange of communal words is more important than I think. It shows that you respect others. Despite her somewhat rude attitude, she seemed not confused, perhaps it was her nature. Lord L finally caught up with me with the footsteps dancing, showing a charming young smile, hands behind her back. "You won't listen to my proposal? It's not bad, you know," she implies when playing around beside me. "I, really touched by what I see in you, Mr. Ed." And she said it with a tasteless sincerity. "Of course, I heard rumors that you may be a bit arrogant and presumptuous, but I didn't notice it." Ahaha. Despite knowing the bad reputation of Ed Roth Taylor, she quickly ignored those points by speeching as fast as lightning. When I see someone persevering in studying despite such difficult circumstances, the human nature just wants to help. I have also experienced hunger and poverty. Therefore, a prepaid for 3 gold coins. A maid living in Dex's dormitory, where normal students stay, will have to work for a month to earn that money. There are those shiny gold coins, a total of 20 dong, meaning you will not have to worry about the next tuition fee. I just want to be friends with Yenica. While laughing, she did not reveal enough details, but I understood. The difference in value between Fonaya and Lord L is an important conflict throughout the script of Sylvania Academy. In the end, the important thing is that Taylor sides. Because it is still not sure at this time, it seems too early to choose the side. "Can't you introduce me? We can go together, 3 people can talk. Really don't take more than an hour, right? Do you think a person like a female Kim can buy a relationship with money? Alright, no need to pretend." Lord L took 3 gold coins from the wallet and stuffed it into my pocket. "Just keep and so go like that. Finally, I know that it is better to have many people beside me." Lord L seems to have an intuitive understanding. With the monitoring, waiting and considering her choices, of course, she knows the political battles that she will face as a scholar, and the fact that building as many unions as possible is very important right now, is clear. There is no gesture of concessions or showing any consideration may narrow the gap between the Princess Fonaya and Lord L. When I was quietly observing, Lord L had a cunning smile with me. "You look at me as if I was pitiful. But most people will be too busy to hide their joy before such a surprise gift." I smiled back. "All right, let's shake hands." Asterisk. No one understands the nature of greed than Lord L, at least that is what she believes. Crazy greed is like a hidden disease. It can be controlled when the time is good, but when it is cornered, when every penny is valuable, it will gnaw the human heart as if the time came. People have nothing for tomorrow, there is no place to sleep tonight, their eyes are red when they see money. Lord L, who comes from the slum, knows exactly how that feeling is. Moreover, the greater the fall, the stronger the power of greed swallows the human heart. Those who have lived their lives in wealth also collapsed even in the moment of poverty. They witnessed so many debtors ending their lives, unable to withstand shocks. To crush those who are cornered on the foot of the wall is not about the golden amount to bury a mansion. It is about a single small currency. The money is not important. The same amount of money always makes the other person give up more. A gold coin exchange price. A golden exchange gold coin. And the gold coin finally sold himself. The price of a golden penny is still unchanged, but those who despair and deprivation will always contribute more and more. Because there is no other choice. Because it seems to be the only way out. Therefore, the first time is really important. For the first time, the only time seemed good, the golden coin began a disaster, pushing people desperately to the verge. It becomes the starting point and the reason for all the next conspiracy and tricks. Sadly, taking advantage of a desperate soul is an easy and simple task. When I woke up, Ed Roth Taylor left, he was only startled for a moment. "Oh, interesting." Looking at Ed Roth Taylor's further back shadow, Lord L smiled. In the small hand, just shaking hands, the 3 gold coins she stuffed into his pocket quietly returned to her. A clear rejection even with the smallest relationship. His actions seemed to imply that he understood Lortel's intentions from the beginning. Lortel is a realist and a master of compromise. Her fate is likely, because she has great ambition but the ability to be born is limited. For outsiders, this seems unreasonable because Lortel is one of the only 3 students to achieve the Class A state from Professor Glast when he entered the academy. She could recite the core of a book after only 1 reading, her mana sensitivity beyond normal students, and she was supported by the rich Elt Trading Company. However, none of these qualities can take her to the highest position. In the magic world, there is an extremely superior Lucy. In terms of the ability to judge, agile thinking and adaptability in combat, she could not catch up with the Zix nature spear. Family circumstances, noble status, innate personality, and leadership skills, all become useless to her opponent, Princess Fenia. Fate seems to have pushed Lortel into a second-class life. But Lortel has overcome this cruel fate with his pure aspiration. Oh, Yenica. Consider the benefits and losses, try to change the balance even a little in the direction that is beneficial for themselves by non-stop perseverance. Her brutal reality world and her infinite compromise stance, ready to shake hands with the necessary bad things, sometimes giving her the label as an opportunity. However, Lortel never felt offended by this label. She believes that missing a chance at hand is much more embarrassing. I was going to bring gifts for you when I came to visit, but then came here. You are Lortel, right? You look different from your hair. I often hear that. They are in the corridor of Ophelius Hall, one of Sylvania's 3 most luxurious dormitories. To be admitted, you must have a high status or good academic achievement. Yenica meets the following conditions, while Lortel, as the heir of the Elt merchant, meets both. However, this does not significantly affect their living conditions in the dorm. For Lortel, she just returned to the room after the shower of the evening, served by Ophelius Hall's maids. Her simple outfit and her loose wet hair may look different from Yenica. The other day, I caused a big controversy in the general battle training session when I used the intermediate magic. I admit that I was very impulsive. It's been a long time, but I want to apologize for the opportunity. Is that so? Yenica is under pressure from Lortel's mid-range magic series, Ice Spear and Instant Freeze, to assess the value of the second-year student at the top of Sylvania Academy. Despite being the year below, the first-year student team is very formidable, making the victory in this duel becomes uncertain even for the students above. However, the title of excellent second-year student cannot be underestimated. With Lucy Merrill, among the first-year students, the discussion of the best student position seems meaningless. However, the name of Lortel was never overlooked when considering the second position. The gap between her and Yenica was what she wanted to measure, but unfortunately, that effort ended meaningless. Even mid-end elementary magic cannot deal significant damage to Yenica, high-class spirit drivers as if they were her limbs. Arrogance to pay. Therefore, even after the final training course ended for a long time, Lortel still had to bandage under the clothes because the wounds have not healed completely. The wound has not healed yet. Lortel clearly realized the feeling of duty left in Yenica's eyes. Yenica Fa lover is extremely kind. Her nature aroused strong protection in those around them, making her an idol among the second-year students. Especially now, when the second-year student was superior to the first-year students, Yenica, who still showed their abilities and seniority, became their savior. In a way, Lortel's humiliating defeat in the general battle training session is not entirely absurd. Previously, she was the lovely and seductive leading magician that we need to protect, now she is almost the light and the only hope for the second-year students. Becoming such an admired object only happens in the blink of an eye. Will heal soon. Don't worry too much, senior. Finally, relationships turn into social power. Living in this truth, Lord L never gave up her business smile when faced with a cute second-year student. If the other side felt indebted to me, it was also a property. Do not use existing assets is stupid. With these thoughts, Lord L intends to use this debt as an opportunity to deepen her relationship with Yenica. I guess everything with Ed is not good, right? Occasionally, this spirit magician will go through with a pure smile. In the commercial world, such a cunning smile means false. The kind and innocent smile is often a mask for merchants who are considering how to deceive others. However, it is surprising that there is no sign of malicious intentions in that girl's laughter. This is a pure question, given without any intentions or bad engines. News from the northern forest came to me. The spirits are really many people. Lord L, after following Ed Rothtailor and chatted, went straight to the entrance to the northern forest. Initially, the northern forest was entirely under the management of Yenica Fa'elover, because most of the wandering spirits in the forest were on her side. Even so, the edge of the northern forest can only be seen. However, it is also considered the territory of Yenica, which is quite confusing for Lord L. The conversation between Ed Rothtailor and Lord L. Cahelm is not something proud to reveal. Try to bribe the relationship of Mage Lin Yenica with money and by chance dappling the situation of Ed Rothtailor to evaluate his value, really not a proud situation. I think Lord L will do it. But the attitude of Yenica, even with respect for that, really deserves the title of saint. Ed must also have its reasons. In my opinion, that is more touching. Of course, I was very touched when Lord L was ready to invest in gold money to make friends with me. But my sincerity couldn't be bought in money, right? I seem too helpful, right? Eek, so embarrassed. Witnessing such a scene, Lord L did not lower her or criticized her approach. Only then did Lord L fully understood Yenica's common view. A girl came out from a fairy tale. The assessment evokes the image of a lovely and energetic girl also implies subtly lower. Living in a flower bed, not knowing the harsh reality of the world. For Lord L, it seemed like that, but it seemed that she was wrong. This girl understands the dark aspects of the world but still retains her exciting nature. When there is strong light, those who have dark intentions will shrink in the dark. When everyone is bogged down in the mud, it is easy to think that being covered with earth is a natural state. Naturally, this is a misconception. Looking for every corner of the world, people will definitely find such people. That is not unknown, but Ed is much more determined and interesting than I think. Really? Why do you think so? She laughed and turned around and removed her hair. Secret. Only then did Lord L realize that he had arrived at Yenica's door. She was about to relax when she came inside, remove the braids and loosen the ties of the daily skirt to be elaborately decorated. As usual, I only hear the gossip, so if I do it too much, it will seem to be watching. Isn't it friendly with the spirituality? Thank you for saying that, But there are some things, knowing it yourself will be more interesting. Yenica, standing at the door, turned around with a bright smile. Whatever the spirits whispering about Ed, only she knows. I will come in now. Dean McDowell proposes to try signing a contract with another high-class spirit next month. That means you have to study and prepare more. Didn't you have a covenant with a premium fire spirit? It seems that expectations have increased recently. I will have to work hard. It is expected to be a good thing. After saying that, Yenica opened the door. Oh, that's right, Lord L. Finally, my characteristic charming smile. I'm sorry for the last time. You are injured quite a lot for me, right? I hope you quickly recover. After saying that, she slowly closed the door, a gesture full of leisurely but obviously the result of many considerations. Standing in front of the door gently closed, Lord L pondered for a while. Ed Rothtailor is definitely an interesting person, but she thinks, but she cannot understand why Yenneker value him so much. What makes Yenneker value Ed Roth-Taylor like that? That question seems useless at this time. It is better to put it in a corner in her mind. Anyway, the strange scene through the closed door has left a deep impression. When observing, it seems hidden behind a happy and leisurely manner that is a strange precarious feeling. Whatever the cause, it is not easy to get a clear answer. Name, Ed Roth-Taylor. Gender, male. Age, 17. Level, 2. Race, people. Achievements, no. Power 6. Intelligence 5. Skillful 9. Will 8. Luck 6. Details of combat skills. Details of magic skills. Details of survival skills. Details of Kim fake skill. New creativity. After cleverly knitting the fishing net to release the fish, he tied the net to the branch and placed the net on the flow of water so that the net did not collapse. It seems that he can keep the fish for a few days. Creative difficulty, you have completed creativity. Your level has increased. The net takes half a day to do, it turns out more useful than expected. Although half have been used immediately to make fishing nets, the rest seems to be useful someday. Thinking about trying fishing with a net or tying it like a hammock to make a good place seems to be a good idea. He feels satisfied with that thought. As his residence was gradually shaped, his ambition also increased. His diet is diverse and improved, and exhausted days due to lack of strength are gradually decreasing. Previously, just running to the scientific building, he felt exhausted all day, but recently, he started jogging gently on the way back. Even after going to bed late, he could still wake up refreshing the next morning. This adds a feeling of fullness and confidence in this lifestyle. Moreover, the enhancement of magic has contributed significantly to his survival. Details of magic skills. Level, Basic Magician. Professional, Element. Common Magic, Fast Execution LV2, Feeling Mana LV5 Magic Elemental Fire, Burning LV10, Wind Elemental Magic, Wind Blade LV10. He has not been able to use the intermediate magic proficiently, so the only basic magic he knows is these two things. However, by practicing them many times that they were irritable and relying on them to survive, he achieved the original goal of level 10 proficiency. Now, if he is concentrated, he can cut down a big tree with just one fleet, and the control or the fire become as easy as turning his hand. Of course, his natural mana was so small that he could not be proficient in using magic, but when it comes to Wind Blade and Ignition, fewer annual students are more proficient than him. Once he mastered the elemental magic, it became convenient for everyday tasks such as cutting wood and controlling fire at night. It also provides great assistance the process of manufacturing by processing materials. You have to admit that everything begins to become interesting. Before going to the classroom at the scientific building. When he looked back at his camp after clearing his furniture, he did not have many things, but it was the place built by his own hands. A feeling of pride and satisfaction flooded him, and it made him want to try more things. First, he spent too much effort in smoking fish. He wondered if he could build a suitable smoked furnace to prevent smoke from spreading. However, he has no clear idea of structural design. However, those are things that can be done at any time. Beside the flaming fire, after checking the laundry clothes and dried meat on the drying rack, he sat down on the fireplace again. Today's mission at the scientific building is good, and after checking the exercise assigned by a high-end Eskine elemental research professor, he can end the working day. When it was still early, he became quite proficient in managing his daily schedule. He humbled a melody while completing the final features of an arrow. Recently, everything went smoothly and he always kept a good mood throughout the day. If he could continue to experience this thoughtless days like this until he graduated, it would not affect his plan. With that comfortable thought, that day ended. Accident. Suddenly, a huge spherical flying, shattering the clothesline was carefully erected and rolled on the ground a few times. A flock of birds soaring into the sky in the forest, and the thick clouds obscured the view for a while. When he looked up after grinding, the familiar and extremely obnoxious witch had responded to the ground before his vision. Looking further, Lucy Peril was rolling on the ground with a destructive drying rack, entangled in an old tree trunk, which looked a scary scene. What's going on? Standing up late, Lucy slowly responded when he lay there. I'm going to die. That sentence, emanating from Lucy Meril's mouth, is a saying that should never be said. At this time at the beginning of the evening, after dinner at Ophelius Hall, the girl who should have been leisurely walking around seemed to have fallen very heavy here for some reason. Within the scope of my understanding of this school, the only person who is likely to threaten Lucy may be Principal Abel. If someone forced Lucy to go through a sense of death, it was an element that was out of my control. The urgent feeling, I quickly stood up and asked Lucy. Nearly dying? Who? Belle, by Belle Maillard. It was the name of a high-class servant at Ophelius Hall. Damned. I hurriedly took a stick from the surrounding rubble and threw it towards Lucy, hoping it would be betrayed, but surprisingly no defensive magic was activated. Lucy was hit by a stick, and he went to the ground with a poor face. On his forehead there was a black streak. Are you really beaten? My mana is over. The speed and the consequences that the naked eye cannot monitor is clearly the work of high-end space magic Space Leap. High-class magic requires concentration and recitation, even professors. I escaped the monthly meeting summoned by the head of the dormitory after dinner. And then what? Bell rushed towards me, angrily, clenched his hand. I suddenly recalled the different scenes that I witnessed related to Lucy. No one can predict the behavior of the person who disturbing himself is right, except for her enemy, Belle Maillard. Whenever she causes trouble, late schedule, or incorrect posture, Belle will punch her into the temple. This correction method has a deep origin, and has a famous expert in this field, Fong Meeson. Perhaps it was funny when the genius Lucy was suppressed by a servant. But even Lucy, with his talent, did not dare to cause trouble with Ophelius Hall's maids. The unwritten rule at the Sylvania Academy are maids, students who support students without making mistakes, must be treated with maximum respect. Moreover, before discussing such rules, students at Ophelius Hall owe a thank you to the maids. Although always pampered, the effectiveness of the maids is amazing. The cleaning of the house and basic cooking, along with the study support and simple magic performances, have shown their professional skills. With such skill, but they are completely devoted to their main role is to support students, avoid unnecessary interventions and mainly keep the distance with themselves. The strict attitude of Belle Maillard is not unique. Everything happened so fast, so I ran away. I felt very panicked. Basically, she applied quick casting to high-end spatial magic and even used silent spell casting to fly from Ophelius Hall. These random ways of practice effectively damage mana, more than double or tripled, concerned by exponential. Moreover, magic is recited as high-class magic, spatial magic, using it in such a rough way. Like deploying a separate jet to go shopping. It is not surprising, even Lucy's abundant mana is exhausted immediately. Even Principal Abel did not dare to try to do such a thing. The absurdity of this situation is funny. Belle angrily threatened her fist, and Lucy fled like a cat-found cucumber, and ended here. Lucy lay on the ground, exhausted, in the pajamas hurriedly put on. So tired. Is it caused by me? Recently very difficult. Especially the older maid became too sensitive. Belle Maillard. Often focus on your mission like a machine. She seems calm, but gee, I can realize, she's stressful, maybe I'm worried about someone. Even so, why I have to endure because of that? If you behave properly, it won't solve the problem. That is the usual answer, which I see there is no reason to say. Everyone knows it is meaningless. Lucy, lying on the ground, later opened his mouth. Greet. Whenever she greeted me, the answer is always the same. The next words can be predicted. Do you have dried meat? Feeling hungry? I sighed, pointing indifferently around Lucy. There is still what remains of the drying rack that she has stabbed, and the dried meat is spread on it. Of course, the dry piece of meat rolled on the ground and clinging to the ground, unable to eat any more. UK. Seeing that, Lucy's face immediately pale, I took the opportunity and flicked her hand on her forehead. Smoked manna, Lucy could only roll on the ground in groaning.